Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Dr. DeLeo and fellow colleagues for inviting me to read here today. And I feel it's a great honor, and I'm happy to be here. I traditionally start my reading with another poet that I love and admire, and one of them is Stanley Kunitz. And so the poem that I will read from his is called Passing Through, and he wrote this on his 79th birthday, and since this is my 79th birthday, I thought it was very appropriate to read this one. Passing through. Nobody in the Windows household ever celebrated anniversaries. In the secrecy of my room, I would not admit I cared that my friends were given parties. Before I left town for school, my birthday went up in smoke in a fire at City Hall that gutted the Department of Vital Statistics. If it weren't for a census report of a 5-year-old white male sharing my mother's address at the Green Street tenement in Worcester, I'd have no documentary proof that I exist. You are the first, my dear, to bully me into these festive occasions. Sometimes you say I wear an abstracted look that drives you up the wall, as though it signified distress or disaffection. Don't take it so to heart. Maybe I enjoy not being as much as being who I am. Maybe it's time for me to practice growing old. The way I look at it, I'm passing through a phase. Gradually, I'm changing to a word. Whatever you choose to claim of me is always yours. Nothing is truly mine except my name. I only borrowed this dust. Okay. And that's in this one, I think. No, where is it? Sorry, I have different poems. Consulting an elder poet. I'm not sure what happened to it. Well, we'll skip that one then. What's the next one? Okay, Agate Songs. Here we go. Crabapple Spring. I thought this was appropriate too. Morning light, a robin in the crabapple tree, breast surging with song, announces to our garden worms and grasses he's as mad as the weather, and sweating glow-red beads with the inner hunger and tingle. The Green Kite. Okay. Trekking through the Meaty. We bow to the balance of nature as cobblestones spark pain. We fly with 2 butterflies in a red oleander sunlight. The light blinds and shapes our art like the whirling mistral. Our hands, bobbing wrens, dance toward the wind's center. Our quest builds upon the colors in the street. The tilt of olive trees ripen in the meadows. Shimmer of gray summer, rosy green as the plums we eat. Aix-en-Provence sits like a palette of Cézanne, paints mixed, waiting to be the chorus of Mont Sainte-Victoire, the mountain he loved like a father, son, or muse. Sunflower, juniper, cypress fill the shadows of Saint-Rémy. Vincent van Gogh leaves a songbook, echoes of the sweating wall. The book turns the pages on madness in art. Our footsteps break the silence and the music's yellow into blue. As you can tell, I've been heavily influenced by painters. They run together. They inspire one another. So I have a lot of friends that are painters. My wife is a very good painter, and I've had friends that were painters all my life. I got competition here with the dinging of the bells. The collages. The things he remembers of the past are more than an easel of metaphors. In a scene of people crisscrossing an avenue, the painter stands to brush into focus the sad frame death makes of our anguish. He plays the wizard in a zigzag mask to counter the cities keeping us a blind crowd. The dark tone forces brighten the maple leaves. Walking among three boys with a black lab, the painter hears the conversation of two lovers on the other side of the lilac bush. They laugh about sleeping on a blanket of flowers. For the day they escape beyond the human wars, chaining us to a Promethean parody. The collagist strives to find the path where chaos and harmony unlock the demonic dance. And God, only white dust in the city's mouth. He watches for the bluebird to guide his brush down the blind alleys of dream ashes. Men in cars shine like chameleon mirrors. The interior hues and splotches of a stoplight. Girls jumping hopscotch squares hone the muscles. Already on the horizon, the moon balances the sun and sparrow perched on a weather vane. By evening, the sparrow flies through the collage, offers the walkers a blue wing with red almond eyes. In a last fling, the color wheel shows the painter in his garden, fingers woven into begonias. A walk in the Lake District. Ambleside bluebells, relics of sod, path, and May. Morning multiplied as fragrant as a sliced peach. Nothing blinked from a billboard was cosmetic, sealed. Each bud struck a bold dare to the season's face. It being Sunday, I couldn't go inside Duff Cottage, so glanced at what was possible from a window. guessing its inner nature by its outer foliage. What dirt and sun and bug turned to follow. Before noon grew a willow stream of yellow. I began the trek to Wordsworth home at Rydal Mount, on a road older than the Middle Ages and as slow. On cobbles even the Romans and sheep found content. Passing a rolling grove of hazel, I heard a bird's voice accent the shadow of hedgerow and tree. But when I tried to answer its word, glimpse the creature that was evading me, it remained totemic, dream-hued, opaque, echoed the vaporous cadence of the cuckoo, what the farmers call spring's wandering shade, branch-woven and unyielding as a stone plaque. In resignation, I turned back to the Sheep's Edge, a few hundred yards above Grassmere Lake, a lake that spanned a valley and sky like a bridge. In light so blue-grained, one forgets the date. Through viewing manuscripts and photos in the house, I went to the terrace garden to eat fruits and cheese, drink wine, and toast the poet's muse. Linger in the afternoon and rest in the roots. The Green Kite, because he used the poster. That was my last book. And I like to think of it as a poem on aesthetics, the writing of poetry, and because Wallace Stevens wrote 1,000 poems about the writing of poetry, I figure I could write half a dozen. The Green Kite. I want to retrieve it for a moment, hold it in my hands. The harmony we barter for runes. The balance between a baby's breath and rust in the bones. I would sail with it for the joy of knowing the muse is near, the stronger link to life in bloom, not the elusive signs of posterity, but art rising from a sidewalk crack like a moonflower. I will dance within the hourglass, fold inward with a storm-sculptured heart, get drunk on light like the grape in August, accept the surgeon's knife, carving abstract shapes from my varicose veins, to feel one last pull from the Green Kite. Okay, this one's called Afternoon Light Under a Hawk's Wing. Although the muse seldom stops to tap on my window or door, and today pretends to arrange the lilacs in the vase by the desk, this stage in the fiction is not terrible, nor the white page that will be there when she leaves and her perfume lingers for nights in every room. All I need is to set the clock on its head with face to the hallway. Snap my fingers to the music. The circling streets come to rest in the remote pearl clouds beyond the hill. Find the path through the arboretum scattered with pine, spruce, poplars, chokecherry, occult as a green language. Then glimpse the sharp-shinned hawk ride the current to the sunset of its origins. The path churns like water under quavering wings, curving to descend. The blazing colors of the sun on leaf, branch, moss, fence, post, grass, soothing the spirit's lost heartbeat. The choice now is to keep dancing to the natural order of things, what the sense is not and unknot in the blood. Okay. Old Hump Tulips. This was for my grandfather, Francis Patsy. In the spirit of water, you jump from one river boulder to another, and with the quick dip of the hand, you draw from under the next rock a fifth sculpin, grab it by the gills. A fish, our people say, sings to us. A gift you will clean and roast on the beach fire for your love and grandchildren. Your new neighbors that came from the east stare at you from outside the circle. Behind a blackberry bush, curious yet guarded and unattached. They have settled in the ruins of your family's abandoned village of white fir and cedar. They surround your crumbling longhouse, plagued with a disease no shaman understood or could fight with a rattle, smoke, or song. These settlers fear your sculpin dance and refuse to join your family feast. So you imagine they are gray willows vanishing on the wind of mountain guardians. Step toward the beach, a whirling sunspot on the sand print of strangers. S'Klallam Spirit Canoe. My paddle keeps to the sun's path, pulls back home to sea. My blood on its travels to the whirling depths. From bow to stern, our canoe drops and rises, embraces each trough, cleansed by family, singing from coastal cliffs. We join our brothers and sisters' canoes from other villages in the circle of kelp and spray, seal and whale. Ride the moving hills, slide sideways and down, then straight up, each paddle touching sky. The drumbeat slips beneath the current, rattles from jeans to prow, returns to ancestral fire and form emerging from the trail of cutwater. From dawn to night, we are the ribs of great-grandparents. Soar like cormorants on the green crest. Offer our children a dream stronger and bolder than rage or war. Salt drying on our face and hands braids our bodies into spirals of dusk. Evening star and Milky Way hones us for the split hurdle as we speak with night weavers, like the old growth voice of red cedar, dipping into light the mirror of our coming home story. Okay, little poem on aging. Sauntering on the nimble sticks. Can I have a little water? Yeah, just a little just a little. On the thinning blood path of my name, I find myself 3 steps behind what gets away. With both feet in destiny's snare, my eyes roll back into their cave, steel marbles from the socket lost to mountain, the other lost to sea. I count to 5 and breathe deep. Swallow disappointment like choke cherry pits. Time, trickster's crazed bones machine, cracks with his urinal dipped words the song no one will hear. I ask the inner mirror for a tear, but the spirit well is drier than a desert. I break down to the name that I was, the shadow of maybe, a pebble miles from its river. I am here to celebrate moon whispers, the critters made of night. Earth vowels. Yeah, we have to. My favorite poets, the poets I really love the most, are the ones that are grounded in the earth and reflect what it means to be a part of that nature. Earth vowels. Truth glows in the flaws of earth stone. A purple finch rises from the dream nest, ignites yellow violets with song. The creature with yielding sight opens the hour to its cave drawings. A writer of need balances our own, now the racer, now the raced upon. This wanderer from the sky blanket streaks beyond our eyes, disappears in the dream wheel's hues, cross-stitches us into the day's vow basket. To Chief Leshai of the Nisqually. Long before Leshai was fitted with the hangman's knot, he saw upon first meeting Isaac Stevens, the Nisqually's nemesis, who would sign the chief's death warrant. Stevens, from his days as a young cadet at West Point, saw himself as Zeus with a thunderbolt to strike the natives from their land and wave in the white settlers pouring into Nisqually Flats. A swarm that flowed longer than the river. With his sword always at the ready, Stevens didn't need a flag because he carefully tattooed on his large brow, manifest destiny. As he strutted before the Medicine Creek Treaty officials and the tribes that chose to attend, with his very short legs, he cast himself as an overlord of Olympian stature, ignoring the fact he was barely 5 feet tall. Choosing to see only the whites in his mist, he reminded them what George Washington said in 1793, that Indians and wolves were both beasts of prey, though they have different shapes. Bracing himself for the approaching hangman, Leshai remembered it meant nothing to Stevens that Leshai's ancestors had lived along the Nisqually River for 10,000 years. Stevens merely jeered, "So what?" Okay, new poems. Okay, I got to get these right. Won't take long. Okay. The Monk and the Painter. The Philosopher Cat. Yeah. And Pollen Mystery. Okay, here we go. This will be just 4 more poems. The words came like crows. 2 crows watched their buddy from a madrona. He is reading aloud from his book of changes. Words drift round like leaves, saying crows are wind drifters and root torches. Words rise in green whispers, telling of when 3 crows courted a Salish sea rose, the color of mountain faces. The 3 crows sail the flag of creation, painting themselves into the landscape of our hours and footsteps. They invite us to taste the years of rages and illness and touch the medicine of the earth. We wake to 3 crows holding the tail of time. The Monk and the Painter. Vincent's brush would go dry and crackle in the wind and sun and disappear from the fingers he was not driven on by the plant weaves of Saint-Remy. He has known he can break free from the explosions by digging feet and fingers in earth's textures. He finds living the life of a monk moves art to spring from the inner fiends. The black and white trimmed butterflies resting on the stems of orange poppies listen to the voices of the monks chanting in their medieval cells. Who changes whom in the churning sphere? So much depends on the trunk of expectation. What would the stand of cypresses be without the fragrance of roses beckoning honeybees? The beetle lying on the flesh of white petals. 2 women wait beside the cypresses for lovers who might set them aglow in the solitude. The reaper in the wheat at sunrise puts him in touch with what counts in a landscape. A man working into a swirl of yellow and brown. He sees the burden of pain is to renew life even when fate's dice say otherwise. And in the sight of the woman bruising flax, to take pain as an awakening to the world, the air in the lungs catching the opening to darkness. His wandering through the fields lets our bones absorb the story of fermenting in the undergrowth of ivy. Philosopher Cat. Marty had a wonderful cat who was a real philosopher, and we would actually talk to one another. I don't mind talking to cats. If they like to talk and tell me a story, I'll listen. The Philosopher Cat. So this is for Marty's cat. Shadow stared at the infinite in the window, as if about to leap through to join the purple finch in the crabapple tree. He sat grounded as a reflection in a mirror. The gods were the nerves of that concentration. His fur grew thicker than approaching darkness. No one lived the parable of dreaming more deeply than Shadow building his ladder to the iris in the sky. He was the one at the threshold of moonlight, asking first the question I had brooded over for years. If we knew where we were headed on this pathway of grief, would we have ever left childhood? He turned around to look in my eyes, his glow with the story of yellow agates. Last poem, Pollen Mystery. Pollen and the mystery bug slide across the eyeball. I sneeze awake. Air is a wind of chuckles. This caving in and out of the organs takes me through several deep breathing spasms. Spring promises more exercise to dance through my joints like a jolt of cognac. And I used to love cognac. In the afternoon attempt at escape, the people of our town exchanged coughs and sneezes. We doubt time has tricked again. More likely the sun on its warpath edges down the sky like Apollo's horses, ready to torch the next fool tripping on the sidewalk. Escape and shade grow dim, a game that even trumped the ancients. Been writing about this problem for a long time. Children who know enough to hang their jump rope on the parking meter sense it's become harder in a suit of sweat to reach a shady side or fit in the daylight overload. Thank you.